We're here at the Business Startup Show in London at the Excel Exhibition Centre, and today we've invited along Tom Maddox from MediaTrainingOnline.com, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the services for SMEs and startups. So thank you for coming along and popping in. So Media Training Online, obviously that's the name of your business, it's the name of the game. I've heard of media training before, but how does the online part come into it?
Well, it's a completely new way of doing media training. If you look at big companies, big corporates, they all send their company spokespeople onto media training courses. We run those training courses for a lot of big companies in London, but that's very difficult for small businesses because it's very costly for them, and often for the big company they might have 3 or 4 people to put through the training at once. Often with a small business, just one person, it's the business owner who will be the only person talking to journalists. So what we've done is we've put all the material that you'd get in that big company media training, all the tips, all the do's and don'ts, how to do TV interviews, talk to journalists, all that sort of stuff, into online streaming video modules.
Right.
So that it's direct to your desk. You can sit back and watch all the material being delivered in your own time when it suits you, and it's obviously a lot more cost effective.
Okay. Speaking to the media is often quite a daunting thing. Speaking in front of a camera, you know.
Absolutely.
What are the right and wrong ways to go about it? What are the biggest mistakes that small businesses can make when talking to the media?
Well, of course, they're not only talking on TV. A lot of small businesses would dream of being on TV. So it's nerve-wracking, of course, if you do TV, but for a lot of people, it's also very nerve-wracking if you talk to a print journalist, because they're always worried they're going to get misquoted, or they're worried they're not going to get their message across, or that the journalist will get something wrong. And so often, I think a lot of small businesses, they make the mistake of missing the opportunities that the media could give them, because they're too scared of going on in case it doesn't quite go the way they want. So this is all about really giving them that confidence, giving them all the tips so they'll understand what the journalists want, what are the do's and don'ts, how the game is played, if you like, so they can be confident about grabbing those opportunities. I think the other big mistake that small businesses make is they don't really understand the news hooks that could interest the journalists. They don't understand what's interesting about their business, and therefore, if they do get the chance to talk to a journalist, they often don't do it very well because they haven't really focused on the bit that might catch the journalist's attention.
Right.
So sometimes it might be about your business if you're doing something different or special or new. Sometimes it might be about you. You know, we all love reading those stories about people whose lives have changed, don't we? So you read those stories about people who, you know, were a city trader and then they become a sheep farmer or something like that. So, you know, it could be there's something personal about you and your life journey, if you like, that is actually going to be interesting to the journalist. It's a matter of finding that hook.
We see on TV and in the newspapers, in the business section, it's quite often dominated by the big name brands and things like that. Why would the media be interested, or are the media interested in small business people and what they have to say?
Well, you're right, the focus is usually and naturally going to be on the big companies, either the big stock market quoted companies or the big brand names we've all heard of. And that's why a lot of smaller companies give up at that first hurdle, because they just think nobody will be interested. But actually, you know, there's an awful lot of opportunities. There are trade magazines, trade publications, there are local papers, there's local radio, there's local TV, there's online websites, all sorts of specialist areas. So you'd be surprised, actually. Of course, they're not going to write about every corner shop. They wouldn't do that. But if you're doing, if you're offering a product, if there's anything new about it, or you've got a service on offer, usually there's some expertise you've got that could be of interest, or tips or ideas or advice, and it may be that there's just a different way that you can find to put yourself on a map.
So to put ourselves on the map, we give you a call. Perhaps we can talk about some of your particular packages that you're offering for SMEs. Your complete media confidence course, perhaps. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, this is our main course that we've just launched in 2011, and essentially that's where you get all the top media training tips that you would get from the big companies, all online delivered to you. So there are 5 modules. We cover everything from how to deal with the print media, understanding the media mindset, understanding how the journalist's mind works, therefore what's likely to be of interest to him or her,
Sure.
how to do a TV interview, where to look, how to approach it, what are the questions to ask beforehand. And we've got something that you can't get on the face-to-face media training course, which is we've done a series of role-play interviews. So we show you what is the right way to answer the question, what may be the wrong way, what's the right way to sit, the wrong way to sit, the wrong way to look, the right way to look.
How am I doing so far?
You're doing fabulously, darling. But you know, all of those things, I mean, what you're doing at the moment is smiling. You look engaged and you look like you're enjoying yourself. And often people are so nervous, they've got a great frown on their face and they look terribly miserable. So it's little things like that that people don't think about that can let them down and maybe create the wrong impression. So we give them all of that for, again, a much more affordable price than if you'd go away and spend maybe a half day or a day of your time doing a training course.
And sometimes when you go to a training course in person, you're relying on them to give some handouts or you're note taking, and you get home and it just makes sense and you can't remember that fantastic thing that was said that was going to make a difference to your whole business life and
well,
future.
with us you can just review the material again until you're comfortable that you've got the bits that you want.
Definitely. And the media training toolkit, what is that?
Right, that's something that we are giving out free of charge. That's essentially some free taster guidelines and tips to kind of get you started, get you thinking in the right mindset. So if you go onto our website, mediatrainingonline.com, and you can see the web address on the page next door. Very obvious when you get to the site, you just fill in the name, address and email address, and we'll send you those free tips straight away.
Wow, that's great, especially for startups. They can have a taste.
Something for nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thank you very much for that.
Pleasure.
Perhaps after you've had a chat to all the business people and budding business people here, we'll be seeing a lot more of these people in the newspapers and
I very much hope so.
And even Startup TV magazine.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Cheers.